Video 4. A self-care grounding exercise. As you watch this video, you might find it helpful to remember that you can press pause if you want more time to absorb the information. If you would prefer no audio, you can also mute the video, or you can even come out of the video if or whenever you want to. In other words, you are in control. The self-care hug. This practice is useful for reminding ourselves how to become aware of when we are feeling tensed in the body and tense or anxious in the mind, and it's one way of releasing that tension. This self-care practice uses the concept of self-kindness or self-compassion as a sort of antidote to the inner self-critic and feelings of inner threat in general. So this can be a helpful practice for when we feel generally under threat, tense, stressed, perhaps we feel harassed by our inner critic and so on. This video introduces the self-care hug exercise. If you would like to try our guided audio for this exercise, you can find it on YouTube, Stepping Stones North Wales. We all have within us what some call a threat system, to help keep us physically and emotionally and mentally safe from harm, and a caregiving system which helps soothe and comfort us when distressed so we can return to a feeling of safety. These systems tend to be switched on or activated during childhood. For some, our childhoods or life experiences may have meant that our threat systems are more readily activated than our caregiving system. For example, we may be very familiar with feeling not okay or something's wrong with me, as if we have a critical voice inside us, an inner critic you might say. We may not be so familiar with the feeling that we are okay, and as a result, we may find it very difficult to feel kindness or warmth and acceptance for ourselves. This exercise comes from the practice of mindful self-compassion or kindness, and is helpful in a few ways. In one way, it acts as a reminder of how it feels to be tense, tight or uncomfortable in the body, and then what it feels like to release that tension, tightness or discomfort, and come gradually to notice feelings of well-being. In another way, it is also a helpful example, a kind of metaphor for what happens in our body and mind when we don't feel okay, or our inner critic has become triggered, and then of how we can, through the feelings of well-being, experience as we release the tightness during the exercise, become familiar with how it feels to notice feelings of well-being as we learn to access our own caregiving system. If you're new to this practice, you might like to listen to the practice first to see whether or not you might like to try it out. If you choose to try the practice, it might be helpful to get used to the practice when you don't feel a specific need, so it comes easier each time you carry the practice out. If you are currently or thinking of working with a therapist, one option might be to practice this in session with your therapist if you choose. As the title of the practice suggests, it involves giving ourselves permission to give ourselves some caring touch. For example, bringing both hands together and, if we choose, bringing both hands to the centre of the chest. It's worth noting here that different physical gestures can evoke different emotional responses in different people. So before you listen to the guided exercise, perhaps experimenting with what physical gestures of comfort work for you, to find a manner of physical touch that you find genuinely caring and supportive. Some examples might be placing one or two hands over your heart centre, in the centre of your chest, gently stroking your arm, cupping your hand over a fist and placing them over your heart, maybe one hand on your cheek, cradling your face in your hands, crossing your arms and giving yourself a gentle hug. And there may be other examples of caring touch that come to mind for you, perhaps choosing what works for you as preparation for trying the guided exercise. Remembering, as you watch this video, you might find it helpful to remember that if you experience any discomfort, you can press pause if you want more time to absorb the information, and if you would prefer no audio, you can also mute the video, or you can come out of the video if or whenever you want to. In other words, you are in control. So, moving into the exercise itself, starting with noticing yourself, your whole breathing body, here on whatever surface you are resting on. Tensing, with your hands outstretched, palms facing the ceiling, make fists with your hands. Allow your fists to tighten, contracting the muscles in your hand, tightening along your arms, up into the shoulders. Allowing the tightness to spread into your shoulders, down through your chest, abdomen, down the back, noticing the breath, perhaps noticing it become more shallow than previously. Allowing the tightness to spread down into the upper legs, through the knees, into the lower legs and feet. Allowing the tightness to spread up into the neck and finally into the face. Just taking a moment, still tensing your muscles to notice the effects of this tightening. It is probably less than pleasant by now, perhaps noticing if your instinct is to stop the tightness and release, etc. Still tensing the muscles just for a short while longer, noticing this is a good metaphor for how self-criticism can affect the body and mind. Releasing. Now choosing to release the hands, opening out the fingers, noticing the warmth flowing into them, releasing the tension throughout the body, just letting it all go, relax and open out, noticing the breath in the chest, noticing how breathing in and out is now easier, perhaps now noticing sensations like warmth, a sense of flow, tingling, well-being, relief, release, freedom, etc., flowing through the body and mind. Now bringing both hands together by placing one hand in front of the other, noticing the warmth from the hands connecting. Now in a gesture of care and comfort and reassurance and warmth, bringing your hands into the centre of the chest, noticing the warmth of your hands as they come into contact with your chest. This is a good metaphor for how self-care, self-compassion, warmth and acceptance can feel in the body and mind. Just allowing the hands to rest here a while, letting the comfort, warmth and care soak in. Notice how you feel now, and as best you can, taking this mind-body awareness into the rest of your day. Remembering that you can choose to come back to this exercise several times a day, or whenever you feel your threat response activated. You can also choose to make this a regular part of your daily self-care routine. If you are regularly in your daily life experiencing what feels to you like a high level of discomfort, it can be helpful to work through this practice alongside any work you may be doing with a therapist. At Stepping Stones North Wales, we work with survivors of childhood sexual abuse. We support women and men to experience their lives not so weighted down by or entangled in their earlier traumatic experiences. We aim to help them find their feet and help their feet find the ground. This is the last video in this series. We hope you found it helpful. For more information about Stepping Stones North Wales and what we do, you can visit our website at www.steppingstonesnorthwales.co.uk. And if you would like to speak to us about accessing support or about any of our services, you can contact us on telephone 01978 352 717, email info@steppingstonesnorthwales.co.uk, and if you would like to try out our guided audio grounding exercises, you can find them on YouTube, Stepping Stones North Wales.